Hi everyone, Matt Morris here in Waterloo, and I've got two towers here that have been sintering for a long time. And in fact, the rotator is on this table. I can't even move it. But we're going to try something here. We're going to try and do a thumbs up for essential workers and frontline workers. Let's give it a try. I've never done it before. I've got my trusty, robust plastic knife, which I think is pretty safe. And if I put my thumb like this, it looks like we need to take out a chunk on this side to begin with. Let's see if this even works. Yeah, we're sort of getting in there. Oh, it is pretty hard packed though. All right. So, trick is I don't want to bust this knife. And there's other tools I could use that would be more effective. But if you're ever going to try this, you may only have this type of knife. There it comes off. I got some chunks going there. This actually started as packing snow, but it is fairly icy. Normal non-packing snow, recently sintered, would be a beautiful carve, but this is pretty tough. So throughout the carve, I'll be throwing my thumb up there, and boy, the thumb is at the front of that shape. So I want a thumb right about here. So I'm going to cut off that back. My rotator's frozen, so that's going to be a challenge for us. I'll come around the back though so you can see better. There we go. Sometimes I stabilize the top. If you're working on the ground, you'll be probably kneeling, so this could be hard work. And I need to take off some of that back. Boy, I'd really like to get this turning. There, I'll turn it manually. How's that? So there's the side view. And what have I done? There's my thumb. So I need to take off this back section. So let's chop off this. This is really hard carving. So I'm holding the knife fairly short to reduce the chance that it'll break. Cut right through there. There we go. So we're going to get to the beginnings of a thumb in a second. And the thumb is at the front of that, isn't it? Okay. Once we get that thumb shaped, I think that'll help make it easier to get the rest of the shape going. But man, I've got a thick thumb at this point. Let's thin that up. Again, I'll come at the back so you can see. I'll start rounding off the top of that thumb a little bit. Man, there we go. Okay, I'll take another look with my thumb. Yeah, sort of. I guess I need a big swoop here, don't I? So right through here. That's kind of, I'd never thought a thumb would be like that. But let's do it. So I'll go on in the back and cut off that. I'll call it a triangle. You know, at some point the shape is going to emerge and all of a sudden we're going to say, yeah, that's starting to look like a thumb. But we're not there yet, are we? So, okay, definitely a swoop in. So I'm going to cut off right this whole section here. There we go. I know a thumb is rounded, so I can do some of that. And it kind of jags in here. So let's do that. This is my first time. Well, actually I did a thumb, a really big thumb sometime. And I'll pause here so you can see that picture. And now I'm back. So this is way smaller, a lot less work, let me tell you. Okay, there's my thumb. I guess it depends on what the angle of my hand's going to be. But I'm getting close on this, I think. If I just take this down a little bit, I think we might be there. Okay, now I'm going to take off my thumb just for a second, pretty thin, and a nail. Let's get that mitt back on. You do not want to be taking off your mittens outside. Your parents or guardians would not be impressed. And you would not be impressed because eventually you would get super cold. Okay, did I see the nails on this side? Yeah, I did. So we round off the top. This is where you get into some detail here. And you won't be doing this, but I'm gonna move it like this so you can see. Here I'm doing the fingernail, and hopefully you can see this. We're doing this all on the fly here. I'm just gonna make a couple of slices here for the nail. One on the back, kind of just a square at this point. Then I'll round them off a little bit to make it look a little bit like a nail. And then I'll shave it a little round because the nail is round. And all you have to do is study your own hand to know what to do. That's the beautiful thing. You don't really need a model or a maquette because you've got your own hand. Although if you're working outside, it might be a good idea to have what I call the maquette, because then you wouldn't be freezing when you take off your mitt. Let's just agree not to take off our mitts outside, because that would be ridiculous. Okay, time for another look. So there's my thumb. Now I need fingers kind of in this area, don't I? And there's a slot right down here, so let's dig out that channel next. I'm just going to cut some V cuts here. I'm working pretty fast because I know you want to get outside. I guess I could be working more slowly, but I think this will get it done. So and my thumb, I got a rounded finger coming over here. I've got to dig this out a little bit. So this is where you get really thoughtful and looking at shapes. Maybe get a friend or a parent in your bubble, stand on this side, and they could show you their hand. Now, fingers going down slightly here. It's these subtle details that sometimes make it work. Now, fingers obviously rounded, so even without looking, I'm going to round that. And I'm starting to see the shape, so now I can put in my fingers, but it's like, how big is that finger? Is it that big? No, I'm thinking it's more like this. And I need the 1, 2, 3, and then off. So one V, two V's, that's where the joint in the bucket was, that's pretty handy. And then 3, I'm just doing it lightly at this point, and then we'll go off at the bottom. Now, since I've done that, it's a good time to look. Proportions, not bad, a little tall, the fingers are a little thick. So if I can thin those up as I go, that would be good. And I've got the V going, so now I'm going to round it a bit. And does the finger come? Yeah, it comes right around the front. I guess that was pretty obvious, but sometimes you have to check the obvious. Now, is that starting to look like a thumbs up to you? Maybe it's the funniest thumbs up you've ever seen. Now, it's not always the knife. Your hand is a great tool. Now, this is looking pretty rough because this was a terrible block that's been sitting for days, super hard, but this is a soft spot. So I might have to mix up some patching snow and push it in there. There's a separate video on how to do that. But for now, I'm going to hold it in on the chance that might be sintering a little bit while I work. Okay? But again, the finger to round things off, but it's not rounding as well as it would with non-packing snow because it's like quite icy, so very tricky. So I'm thinking this might have to be a very rough demo, but hey, good for you to see the kind of things I'm wrestling with as I continue to learn about snow carving. Just like you, I'm always learning. 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers, okay. And below that, it kind of drops off, doesn't it? So if I cut this out, I think that'll start to make the whole shape pop. But let's take another look to see what's happening here. Yeah, it's going to work. This finger comes up a little bit. So I'm going to go like this. And then there's a little bit of a palm kind of behind that, but I can take a lot of this off. Oh boy. Yeah, it really drops in. The more I can take out of here, the more that's going to define my hand. But of course the challenge is the whole thing may collapse. So we'll take a risk. There's always risk in many things we do, but we want reasonable risk. Snow sculpting is definitely a sport where you take some risks. Okay, and now the end of the fingers kind of come, let's see, like this, and it drops in, and this finger kind of goes back as well. So I'm going to cut that line, cut the finish off this V, and then take that finger down a bit because it's sort of tucked underneath, isn't it? Okay, so what's the detail here? It just goes back into that part of the hand. And you know what's going to happen in a second. I'm going to put fingernails on this, and that's going to make it pop. Okay, I've never done a small one before. I think it's not bad. If I can take some of this out, that would help. Don't fall over hand. And again, it's coming down into the wrist now, I guess. Yeah. My goodness. You think you could do this? I think you could. I'm going to take out some here because I think that will make the shape pop. Man, I don't want to get this wrong because that could ruin it. But hey, how long did this take me? And how much did this cost me? This is the wonderful thing of this hobby. We can start again. We can learn new skills. I'm going to cut that off there. I think it's time for fingernails. Pretty well. Let's get closer. Okay, a couple lines. Oh, this is really fragile. So this is going to break off because this is such an old tower that's been sintering for a few days. I wanted to get this video out for the fine people of Penetanguishene who were having their 73rd Winterama. And they are going to be doing a tribute to first responders. And I think a thumbs up would definitely be something that, you know, if first responders driving home after a long day and they see a thumbs up, I think that would be a pretty positive sign, wouldn't it? Don't be afraid to blow snow out of your hand. Okay, let's do a check. There's so much more we could do, but we're going to stop the video in a second. Let's do another couple of things. We're going to swoop this here more, swoop this in here, and bring this in as well. And this is the point where you start to really see something happen as far as how it should look. I think I saw something here. Needed to come out. Am I getting even close with this terrible block of snow? I think the point's made. Notice I've got a point on my finger, and that's really thick. And as you're watching there, maybe inside, keeping nice and warm, maybe you're noticing lots of things that need improvement. But, you know, half the demo here is showing my approach to this. Standing back, looking, hopefully using a model, or in this case, my own hand, to try and get it right. That's better. I could work on this, obviously, and if I had great non-packing snow that had just sintered, I could really get into this fingernail and try and get that right. Lots of little things. Rounding off this. You probably saw that as you were watching. Saying, man, I hope he fixes the end of that finger. Or maybe this is too much down here. Now, smoothing this is an idea. Now, near the end, oh, a little more here. Near the end, there's a smoothing piece that really helps. Because as you can see, all my cuts are pretty raw right now. They're pretty jagged. But if we start smoothing, don't break that off. If we smooth with our gloves, preferably a light glove with no seams, you'll get a smoothing factor that will really help the sculpture come to life. Okay, now this will not smooth as well, again, because of the quality of the block. But I say, hey, let's get it out there, because that's life. Sometimes you got to work with a block that's not perfect, but I'm still having fun. I'm out here creating a thumbs up for our frontline workers and for our people that are helping us get through this pandemic. Maybe you'll make a thumb like this and figure out how to do it and have some fun outside in the snow with non-packing snow. But whatever you're up to this winter, I hope you have some fun. Thanks for spending time with me today. Bye-bye.